Well, good evening, listeners. Welcome. My name's Eric Simpson. I'll be hosting the call this evening and asking the questions. And tonight's call is called Weight Loss Against the Odds. And the call has been sponsored by www.weightlosswithoutwillpower.co.uk. Tonight I'm pleased to have on the call with me Theresa Fowler, a lady who has undergone a complete body and lifestyle transformation, which we're going to find out all about in a short while. At the end of this call, there will be an opportunity to win some free gifts, so stick around to the end of the call to find out if you're one of the lucky winners or how to become one of those lucky winners. You're going to be asked to submit some information to get on that winner's roll. And for those of you not familiar with who I am, my name's Eric Simpson. I live and work in Salisbury. I have a studio in Salisbury, one in Fordingbridge. I work as a weight loss coach and trainer alongside a team of other coach and trainers at the Personal Wellness Studios. And we specialise in helping individuals losing weight, getting fit and improving their overall health and well-being. And it's worth saying that Theresa, who's on the call this evening, is not actually one of our clients. But I thought it'd be quite nice to step out of my own sort of world of health and fitness and weight loss and listen to somebody else who has achieved, as I said earlier, a complete body and lifestyle transformation, and really getting some inspiration from somebody else that will hopefully help you on your journey towards a healthier, fitter body. So without further ado, why don't we start off with you, Theresa, telling us a little bit about what you're currently doing, and we'll then take a trip back down memory lane and find out how you've arrived at where you are now.
Okay, Eric, how are you this evening?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for bearing with that rather long introduction.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. No problem. Yes, at the moment I am an author and public speaker, and I'm also the UK's only no diet, no calorie counting real food expert.
Fantastic.
Yeah, doing really well with that. Doing lots of public speaking engagements. Just basically getting the word out, letting people know that, real food is where it's at.
Absolutely, yeah, couldn't agree more. And before we get started then, just so the listeners know exactly, what you have achieved, and before you get into the detail of that, so how much weight have you lost so far to date?
To date, about 7 stone, so about 100 pounds.
So 100 pounds you've lost.
Yeah, that's a whole other person.
Yeah, that's a quite amazing result.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So let's make a start on how you've arrived there. Why don't we start off by finding out a little bit about your history? So just sort of take us back maybe and just give us some of your history.
Okay, well, my weight issues really started when I was quite young. I was about 10 years old. I remember being weighed at school by the school nurse, and her flagging me up and, making me stand to the side and having to take a note home to my mum for her to explain why I was chunky, as they called it. But yeah, and my weight kept creeping up because I was quite a sickly child. I had lots of glandular problems, so I was always quite ill and never really was active in sports. And yeah, the weight just crept up and up and up. So by the time I was, 18, 19, I was a good 2 or 3 stone overweight.
Right. So you had a good 8 years in, I'm guessing, of not necessarily positive self-image then?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, teenage years are a pretty grim time anyway, as far as self-image is concerned. And yeah, I was picked on at school and everything because back then there weren't many people who were, fat back then. Not young kids anyway.
Sure. So that's a lot of baggage to take forward into your teenage years, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And what would you say were your main challenges then before starting on this journey? First of all, let's say internal, and you've sort of touched on it there a little bit, but first of all, the internal challenges then.
Yeah, internal challenges, well, I'm not really feeling good in the first place, and being on lots of medication, and, just generally feeling not as, invigorated with as much energy as my peers had at the time. And also, but the thing was, I didn't have very good role models. I mean, I love my parents dearly, but I didn't have very good role models because they never exercised and they didn't eat well, and diabetes runs in the family. So my my belief systems were that, well, this is just kind of how we were. And, they used to tell a story that, us Fowlers were big bones. Grew up believing that.
Yeah, and that's something we hear a lot of, isn't it? People who settle for the fact that their parents were big, their grandparents were big, therefore it follows that. And quite right, I mean, genetically you may be predisposed, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be down exactly.
You have to be that way, exactly. Yeah.
So those were your sort of mental internal challenges. Were there any sort of external challenges you're facing with at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I couldn't just walk into a shop and buy what I wanted. And, for a girl, that's a terrible thing. And, just uncomfortable issues, in the summertime I was always sweating more than everybody else, and thighs rubbing together, very painful when the skin rubs raw. Lots of external issues that were, very painful.
And did you find that worse in the summer months?
Much worse in the summer, yeah. And I like the sunshine. So it was a real dilemma. And, not wanting to get into a swimming costume because everybody else looks amazing, and, your thighs are rubbing together and you're sweaty and rolls of fat everywhere. It's really uncomfortable, really uncomfortable.
So you had the internal challenges all those years, plus, the physical external challenges reminding you, I guess, and linking you back to those years.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And, not seeing a way out of it, because like I said, my default mode, what I thought my default mode was just, to be chunky. And that's just how it was supposed to be.
Sure. And so, faced with those internal and external challenges, and I guess to a lot of people, they would appear to be almost, there's no way out of this.
No, exactly.
How do you get started? So my next question then is, what was it then that actually motivated you to make a start?
Well, unfortunately, that's a bit of a sad story, because my father, after years of being diabetic and having various complications with that, thrombosis and all sorts, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died soon after, and that was coming up to 6 years ago now. And that was a real slap in the face, because I was pre-diabetic, and it was just something I was expecting to happen to me, because that's how I thought it was supposed to be. But yeah, his death just really kind of woke me up. It was like, hold on, if I continue living like I'm living, then that's going to be me, probably sooner. I'll probably be there at 65 instead of 67, and that really did scare me. It sort of woke me up. I thought, oh no, I don't have much time to live. Yeah, it was a real shock.
Yeah, and it's always sad when anybody loses their parents.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was enough to shock me out of the mindset that I was in. I knew I had to change, and he'd be proud of that. It must be. He would be really proud of that.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's looking down on you with a big smile on his face now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was your big motivator. I'm guessing there were some other little motivators along the way as well. That sort of
there were. I mean, I had retrained as a reflexologist, and realizing that I was going to have to help heal people, and I wasn't at all healed myself. I realized that it was I had been thinking about it, and by that time as well, I'd been smoking for about 25 years, and I'd been thinking about stopping smoking, because I smoked up to about 60 a day. So there were a couple of things I had thought about, but I hadn't actually actioned. And yeah, it wasn't until my dad that I actually took action.
Yeah, sure. So that was the real catalyst then to sort of...
That was the real catalyst, absolutely.